Hey everybody, welcome back to Plugin Tut, your home for handcrafted WordPress plugin tutorials as always. I am your host Matt, and today we're taking a look at Divi 3.0. This is my second go-around at an overview video because a lot of you have flamed me for the first overview video that I gave you because you just didn't understand what I was doing, and today we're going to dive in and give you the overview of Divi that you should have received the first time around. So if you didn't see that video, that was me using Divi for the very first time. It was a way to demonstrate what a very popular page building theme, how it works for the first time user. Now, I've been supporting WordPress themes and plugins for over 8 years. I've probably talked to thousands of WordPress users, and a vast majority of them do not read the instructions. Do you read the instructions when you buy a table from IKEA and try to put it together? No, you struggle with it, and then you go and look at the instructions. So many of you said, you should have spent hours, you should have spent a few hours reading this. You'll get used to it when you use it for a few hours. If you read the documentation, you would have seen this. Well, I'm looking at Divi's marketing page here, and there's no call to actions here that say it takes a few hours to learn. No, it says you can build anything visually, just click and type. So there was a little bit of a struggle with that. But today I'm going to structure this video a little bit differently, and we're going to dive right into what this is. And I'm trying to get this done a little bit quicker so that you can be on your way and learning a little bit more about what Divi is. So Divi 3.0 is the newest version of Divi. Divi is an entire theme. Divi has a Divi builder as well, but it's not up to version 3 yet. That's a standalone plugin that you could assumingly use on any WordPress theme. This is all built into one theme by Elegant Themes. So we're going to dive right into the overview, and I'm just going to show you all the different features of Divi. I'm not going to dive deep into them. I already have a second video that's already published and recorded on going into the options, but I'm going to quickly show you some of these areas and then talk about what I like and what I don't like about Divi, and then let you make the decision from there. So here we are, already logged into my WordPress site. Divi's already loaded. We're going to take a look at the visual builder. This is the stuff that they've been marketing for 100 days, literally, when they released their 100 days of Divi. And you can see here, when I pull up the front-end editor, I am looking at my WordPress website, and I can just come into these areas here, hover over these sections, and modify them, right? So I don't need to know any kind of code or anything like that. I can just click on this stuff. I can change not only the text, like let's see here, if I edit this section here, it says we are a creative agency. I'll say welcome to Plugin Tut, and I can change our button text, subscribe to the show, and I'm doing all this stuff in obviously the front end of my website, and that's what makes it so visually appealing for not only designing and building your website, but for people who are looking at this stuff, they're saying, wow, I can do all that, and I don't need to really learn any code. And then you can go in and really drill down on nearly every CSS feature that there might be. So body text, font sizes, font families, colors, backgrounds, images, all of that stuff. You just click on a section and you edit that right in live right in your website. And if you wanted to see something like, excuse me while I grab a drink. If you wanted to see stuff in mobile view, so you can edit that stuff and understand what's happening in the mobile view, there's sort of this master button down here below that has a whole bunch of stuff. And one of the more important things is you can shrink your website down to tablet view, phone view, and really see what your website looks like in a mobile setting, in a mobile environment, and change, maybe some spacing that's off. You could even hide an element. So for example, if we edit this here, you could say something like, do not show or disable on phone. And it sort of might be hard to tell in this video. It sort of grays out a little bit here, which is to indicate that will not load on a real site, on a live site, when it gets down to a mobile phone. So you can sort of pinpoint these areas that are sort of, that you don't need on mobile because there's only so much time and so much scrolling people will do, so on and so forth on mobile. So that's the those are some of the editing of the styles of in the front page builder. The other sort of big feature of the front end now is sort of loading these layouts from these predefined layouts from Divi's library. And arguably, this is how most of us are probably going to be using this kind of page builder, is by loading up these layouts. So this is, I don't even remember which one I clicked on. I think that was landing page maybe. Let's say homepage basic. And you can see here, I can just switch between these layouts, and then I can just go in and click and edit these sections and make them my own, make them the branding that I want, that kind of thing. So again, real quick overview. This is the front end builder. You can see every section is sort of indicated by colors. So there's typically blue, purples, grays, and greens that you're dealing with. And when you want to add in another row, you can just click on that, add a row, drop that in, and then you say, okay, what module do you want to use in this row? Let's say just text for now. And then your little text box pops up, and you could say this is for text. Save that. And there's your little, this is for text, and then you can go in and style all that stuff. Text is a little bit different because you can actually do it sort of just like this, nice and pretty. And you can go ahead and keep adding modules, rows, columns, and different things like that. Okay, so that's the front end. Everything is sort of controlled by this master button. You always hit save when you leave, that kind of thing. Loading the layouts. You can export these layouts and bring them to another page. You can bring them to another Divi theme. That's really cool, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Let's take a look at the back end real quick. I'm going to exit the visual builder. I'm going to edit the page. This is how Divi worked, Divi of old worked. So you were in the traditional WordPress content editor, and you were just building what we just built, but without any visual appeal. So you're coming in here and sort of moving these columns around, moving these rows in, and sort of doing this all in the back end, and sort of flip-flopping to see, like, what does this look like on the front end? Okay, I set it up here. I think this looks good. Sort of doing that guesswork. The visual builder sort of, cures the need for that sort of guessing and stuff like that. I'd actually argue that as you get accustomed to using Divi, you might find yourself building everything out here because it is a little bit faster once you understand all the different modules and rows and what you want. You might end up doing it here and then tweaking everything on the visual builder side. Let's talk about the theme options. Theme options in Divi. You have this theme options panel, which has a whole bunch of stuff in it. And I'm not going to go through each and individual one. Got to get another video that does that. You can modify or tweak the navigation. You can tweak the color, the default color palette. You can come in and say, I don't want those Facebook icons. I don't want those Twitter icons. I don't want the Google Plus icons. You can modify all that stuff there. Most importantly, out of all this stuff is coming into the update section. And if you do purchase Divi, putting in your username and API key here, because that's what's going to get you the constant updates from Divi, and that's very important. New features, security patches, new functions, that kind of thing. And then you can go ahead and modify. One of the things I really like about this, and we'll get to what I do like in a moment, is you can come and sort of drill down the WordPress metadata of posts. I do think that's a nice touch. You can hide the authors, the dates, the categories, all those little sort of WordPress metadata sections, meta boxes that you see on a lot of WordPress websites. The theme customizer. Now, again, this is where things can get a little confusing. This is what some of the things I criticized on my first video, but this is not just, Divi. There's many themes do this, right? Where sort of options can become a little bit confusing. The theme customizer is another front end. It's the traditional WordPress customizer, and it's for making all of the large sweeping changes across the entire site. So if you wanted to come in and say, all of my body text throughout the entire site is 18 pixels, let's say 22, just so you can see it bump up a little bit. You can see that a lot of this text bumped up, not just this text, but a lot of the other stuff got a little bit bigger too. That's because it's inheriting styles. But you can see that we set the body size, the body text to 22, and some of the stuff adjusted. When you go into the builder of Divi, you can then customize it per page. So if you wanted just the body to be 22, but then when you go to a particular page, you want it to be that 14 by default, you can modify that, right? So you can modify that per page. So the theme settings and theme customizer, again, you go through, there's a bunch of stuff here. You can go and change the way the buttons look, the way that the mobile styles act, from a sort of section and body text size. So when you go to mobile, do you want that text to increase? And you can do this on sweeping changes again throughout the entire site. Last but not least, I'm going to leave this. Last but not least, we have the module customizer, which is all of the modules that you can bring into Divi through the builder. You can come here and make a lot of text and styling changes here. So again, whoops, I didn't mean to close that. Go back to module customizer. So another sort of point of contention for me is just a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things you have to think of when you're designing a site if you're trying to sit down and design a full site through Divi. So all the accordion fonts, the way that look and feel rolls out, the gallery, what that looks like when you do that. You can come in here and customize that. So the good thing is you can customize it, right? The bad thing is there's a bunch. So it might take you some time to do all that stuff, okay? So, and then role editor, I don't want to go through all these options because I did that other video. Role editor, you can come in here and sort of drill down and say whoever has certain access to WordPress will only have certain access to the Divi builder. That's kind of nice. And then Divi library, you can save layouts and modules here and then reuse them when you create other pages on your WordPress site, on your Divi site, or bring them to another Divi theme, okay? So that's the front end, the back end, and the options of Divi. Now I just want to talk about what I like. So let's go back to the front end. And I'm going to enable the visual builder again. So I think that Divi has a great, there's two parts to this. So I think Divi has a great user interface. I think it's pretty, it's slick, but it gets in the way sometimes. And I'll talk about that in a little while. So, but, clicking on these settings here, and I can come in and I can, customize nearly any option within. I actually like to sort of load it here to the left and dock it to the left. But I think they have one of the nicest sort of interfaces for customizing the site. It's pretty, it's sleek, it's fast, okay? I really like that you can redo and undo changes. That's a key feature when you're sitting in here and spending a lot of time customizing a site in a browser. Maybe you realize you messed something up and you forgot when you did it. You can pull up the history the history menu or whatever you want, dock, and kind of roll back and change those settings. So I think that's really cool. Again, I think the biggest advantage to using Divi or any page builder is the predefined layouts that you get. So I can pull up a product features page really fast. I can pull up a contact us page really fast. And these items are done for you, right? So short of going in and, maybe tweaking some items here and adjusting sizes and whatnot, it's already done for you. And that's great if you are satisfied with those layouts, okay? And maybe we'll talk about that in a moment about some of the things I dislike. But I really think that the layouts is really cool. Another thing is if I wanted to I'm just going to throw in another one about us just as an example. So let's say I spent some time and I build this great layout and I really, really like it. And I think I want to use it on another page in my WordPress website. It's not a default Divi layout. It's something that I made on my own. Maybe like this, like a contact page with an about us at the bottom. I can now save that to my library. So I can save that and say Matt's contact page. I can save that to the library. And when I go to add a template later, we can pull that in from the library. I don't know why it doesn't show up there, but it is what it is. Probably when I refresh the page, I can pull that in. So I really like the fact that you can save these to a library and reuse them. I think that's a really nice touch. Other things that I like, I'm going to exit the visual builder. Whoops, I didn't want to go back to that. I'm going to edit the page. One of the things I do like is, I'm glad that they kept the, for as much criticism as this got, not just from me, but from many other people. I think having the backend, the traditional backend, is still good, because I think what you're going to end up doing is building this stuff a little bit faster when you know what you're doing. Okay, when you know what you're doing. Once you know what you're doing, you'll be able to build this stuff out a little bit faster than sort of playing around with all the animations and stuff like that, and just the nature of scrolling, bigger graphics on the front end. If you're building a lot of these Divi sites, maybe you do it here more often and then go to the front end and customize it so you can visually see it and things like that. So I think that's good. And again, the role editor and the Divi library, two things that I think for the more advanced user becomes a very powerful tool. And I'd say the overall design of layouts for Divi are really good too. There are some other page builders that have these types of features, but the layouts aren't as good. The designs aren't as good. So I think that's a bonus to Divi. Okay, so those are all my thumbs up for Divi. Now, if you already flamed me on my original video and you're back again watching this, I hope you're happy. But let's move on to the things I don't like about Divi, and we can talk about, and we can just chat about those real quick. So before I said that I do like the UI, but there are some things that get in the way, and there are no ways around it. So if I were to do something, let's say like this grid here, and let me just get rid of this. So if I was building a grid of text, let's say you wanted to build a grid of text, I'd come in and I would add in text. In fact, I can just search. That's a nice feature too. You can kind of drill these down a little bit faster. So I'm going to add in some text here. Text here. I'm going to select it. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Center it. So let's say you wanted to make that grid. So you're like, oh, that's cool. Like I can make a grid of text. So I'm just going to keep duplicating these fields here. So I'm going to make, whatever, 3 by or 4 by 3 or whatever. And you just want to put all these like features. Like if you're building out a features list or something like that. Like right here, when I go to hover over this one and I want to edit it, you can see when these elements are too close, the little menu doesn't pop up all the time. And if it does, like right here, you can see that it gets behind this little green for the row, the row settings menu. It gets in the way. So I can't click on these elements. And if I tried to, I'd be clicking on this. So while the UI, I feel, is one of the best in the WordPress page building experience, things can still get in the way. There's no way around it. You can't argue this. You can't deny that this is that's a problem. Like right now, I'm trying to get to that box to drag it, and I can't get it. So anyway, you might find yourself trying to trick Divi by moving things around in an element and coming in and modifying it here, and then saying, okay, now I have to kind of bring it back and sneak it in. It's sort of a weird thing that you have to do with Divi sometimes, and that's proof is in the pudding. It's right there, right? So that's one of the things that sort of drives me nuts about the front end, as much as I like the visual appeal of Divi. Some of the other things I do not like about Divi is when you're in Divi, you're using Divi. If you're planning on using Divi, you should plan on using Divi forever. And I'm not the first person to say that. If you're building a 5-page website, I think it's fine. If you're building a 20-page website, this is and you're a big company or a bigger company, and you do a lot of customizations, there will be a time where something doesn't, you can't style something 100%. And if you're a marketing director or if you're a consultant working for somebody and they say, move this over here and put it exactly where I want it, or change it to that exact color or that size or whatever it might be in the CSS, or you have another WordPress plugin that you're using, a different kind of e-commerce solution, something we've never heard of, or you're integrating to another marketing service, there could be problems because the code of Divi just doesn't play nice with it. So you can run into that too. On that same note, if you're porting away from Divi, now I emailed Elegant Themes directly about this. This is the biggest problem about Divi and many page builders, except for Beaver Builder. Beaver Builder does a really good job at preserving content. If you're moving away from Divi and you don't want to use it anymore and you're switching themes, let's say we switch to this one and we'll look at our homepage. This is all of the shortcodes, right? So Divi builds websites using what WordPress calls as shortcodes or code, and it preserves all of that content in shortcodes, which goes into the database, right? Try not to get super technical here. But if you were somebody who owned the website, yeah, I mean, some of this text stays, like more info and address, but what about all the rest of this stuff? You can't bring this to another theme. So again, if you're a small business owner, you're like, I built my entire site in Divi and now I just want to switch themes, and I go ahead and do that. Think about all the time it took you to get everything right and style and put that content in there, a bunch of call to actions, team member names, product names, descriptions. You end up getting this as a result. So when you move over to the next site and your consultant says, yee boy, it's going to take us, 20 hours to modify the content. You say, well, why? It was so easy when I did it in Elegant Themes or Divi. Not the case for the next theme. And again, if you're a consultant selling this to your client, you should be telling your client you're using this so that they're aware that a year from now, 2 years from now, if they're switching themes or doing some drastic template remodel for a big marketing push, you can run into this page building overhead. People who were leaving me comments before, you cannot deny this. Again, I emailed Elegant Themes and I said, because I watched another YouTuber and he said, oh, anybody who says that they're WordPress purist and there's plenty of solutions out there to change these short codes into content. No, there isn't. I emailed Elegant Themes. I have the emails. They don't have a solution for it. They don't know of a third-party solution for it. And maybe you know of a third-party solution, but guess what? If Elegant Themes doesn't know and nobody else that I know knows, it's a vast majority of people do not know, then there's no real good solution for moving shortcodes into real content. So just something to be aware of when you're using Divi. The other elements of Divi that sort of lock you into the theme is if you use any of their I gotta load Divi back. Give that a second. So any of the other theme options that sort of tie you in. So if you were to use your MailChimp API key, integrate MailChimp into Divi, and you start building lists through Divi and all that fun stuff, and then you go ahead and switch themes, now you're forced to go look for a MailChimp plugin for your next theme. So had you just used the MailChimp plugin the first time around, you'd be okay. Okay. So what I'm getting at here is there's a lot of integrations that are deeply rooted into Divi, and if you move away, you're going to have to come up with a solution. And again, if it's a small 5-6 page website and that doesn't matter to you and you're just going to wipe the slate clean and start over again, fine, no problem. But I've seen marketing divisions of big companies using Divi for product marketing pages for like small microsites and stuff like that. And then they move away and they're like, we have to do that all over again. We have to find another plugin. We have to reconnect it to MailChimp. Some people just don't have the time or the bandwidth to go and look up that stuff. And again, if you're a consultant, you definitely want to tell your customer about that. Those are my thoughts on Divi. This is the second go round on a Divi overview video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, thumbs up, like it, share it with friends and family, subscribe to the channel. It's plugintut.com, youtube.com/plugintut. Thanks, everybody.